We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit.
In July of 2020, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency said that banks could custodian and clear digital assets. So before that, I didn't know anything really about digital assets, right? So now if all the banks of the world, remember, I'm the biggest wholesaler in the world, all the banks can custodian and clear, I better learn about digital assets. So I go on a hunt to meet everybody that matters. I met Sam, I met Alex from Celsius, I met every criminal who's now in prison, I met all sorts of people. It was unbelievable. I mean, imagine I meet the guy from Celsius, right? And he says, you know, I'm a new age bank, I take your deposits. And you know what he did with the money? He bought mining equipment. See, I call that a nuclear duration mismatch, which means he has mining equipment and you can pull your money out any minute you want. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. Of course, he's in prison. So
this is Howard Lutnik. He's the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, a billionaire, and has an ear to President Trump.
And then I met the people who owned Tether. And let me tell you, at that time, there were all these media haters and all these haters, and they all said the same thing. They said they don't have the money, and it's a Ponzi scheme. So I met Giancarlo, and I basically told him the movie line. I said, show me the money. Do you have the money? And he said he had it. So they gave us complete access to due diligence and to see and prove that they had the money. Now, I would tell you, when we found the money, and we found every penny, and they had every penny, but they had it in what I would call pretty godforsaken places, right? They owned Chinese commercial paper at the time and other investments, because remember, interest rates were zero. Okay, interest rates were zero, and they needed to try to earn yield, and that's what they did. So I told them, after we verified every penny, I told them we would onboard them to Cantor, provided when these assets matured, this commercial paper matured, they would send the money to Cantor and we would buy US Treasury bills. So remember, we're the world's largest wholesaler and Cantor is a primary dealer. A primary dealer is one of 24 firms that does business directly with the Federal Reserve of the United States of America. So we are authorized by the government of the United States of America to create liquidity on US Treasuries instantly, all the time, including during the pandemic, including during the '08 crisis. The whole point of being a primary dealer is if you need liquidity on US Treasuries, Big Daddy, the US government, stands behind Cantor Fitzgerald and says, we are there for you. We will provide liquidity in every circumstance. So I can tell you with absolute certainty, that Tether USDT has every penny and it can produce liquidity on a moment's notice because they have their US Treasuries with Cantor Fitzgerald, a primary dealer who can create liquidity instantly. There are no limits.
For years, there have been persistent speculation that Tether, a leading stablecoin, lacks adequate backing to support its value. However, despite these recurring rumors, Tether has consistently maintained its dollar peg without deviation. These concerns often circulate widely on social media and are frequently discussed by crypto influencers, yet there is a notable lack of concrete evidence supporting them. In contrast, Tether has been working closely with regulatory authorities, including the Department of Justice, the FBI, and it complies with freezing assets under their requests. It's also worth noting that Silicon Valley Bank faced financial difficulties. Tether's competitor, Circle's USDC, briefly broke its dollar peg which resulted in market turbulence. Tether, however, remained fully stable during this period, maintaining its peg and providing stability amid the uncertainty.
No limits on redemptions from approved primary customers, meaning they've KYC'd, no limits. So I'll give you an example. In May of 2022, Sam of FTX had obviously done a deal with Circle, right? And he sought to try to destroy Tether. So he amassed huge amounts, $10 billion of USDT. And then in May of 22, redeemed it all in 2 or 3 days because he assumed they wouldn't have the liquidity. But we had not announced to the world that we were holding Tether's treasuries yet. And we met 10 billion in redemptions instantly because it's no big deal for us. We deal in trillions of treasuries. It's nothing for us. So Sam didn't know it, but Cantor redeemed it without a hitch. It was nothing. We were in the background because that's what we do. So in January of 23, I gave my first interview and I made it crystal clear that Tether had the money and that we were holding it. It's not another thing. We hold their money. USDT is fundamentally different than USDC because USDT holds treasuries and primary dealer Cantor Fitzgerald can liquidate those treasuries and meet your redemptions without fail.
Sam Bankman-Fried was a malicious actor in the crypto space, and according to Howard Lutnik, he borrowed billions of dollars worth of Tether and then tried to redeem the Tether in order to break the bank with Tether, but this plan failed. But why would Sam want to do something like this? He stole everyone's crypto that used the exchange, so he knew at one point that the Ponzi scheme would eventually dry up. He was trying to push prices down as cheap as possible, and to do this, he decided to go down the route of Tether.
Think about it. Circle had $3.3 billion of your reserves uninsured in the Silicon Valley Bank when it went bust. Now, I've told you, Tether and USDT holds treasuries, right, which earn like 5.25% interest. Why would you put $3.3 billion in an uninsured bank account earning 25 basis points, 0.25%, and be uninsured? You know, I don't have enough time to stand up here to tell you that story. So if you want to meet me afterward, I'll tell you the story about why I think they had it there. It makes no sense. So obviously, Circle broke the peg hard, as you would expect, and
everyone assumed Circle was safe due to their partnership with BlackRock. As BlackRock holds U.S. Treasury, Circle is supposed to back its stablecoin with. So why was Circle keeping its funds at Silicon Valley Bank, a smaller regional bank that lacked the insurance or capital to cover $250,000 per account? Why would they expose their money like this? Do you remember the savings bonds that you got when you were a kid? The bonds you'd eventually cash in for your college education, earning interest to help pay for college or other expenses. Now imagine instead of cashing them in, you could use those bonds directly for purchases without needing physical cash. That's similar to what's happening today with stablecoins. Here how it works. Treasury issues bonds. The Fed buys those bonds, injecting real dollars into the market, and the bonds remain on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. Stablecoins are like digital versions of these treasury bonds. This is why there's a big push for stablecoins. They represent a massive demand for U.S. debt that could transform how debt and currency interact with the economy.
So let's go through this for one more time. So Cantor is one of the largest electronic traders in the world. So I sought to be onboarded with USDC because we trade BTC, we trade USDT, we wanted to trade USDC. And after months and months and months of trying, Circle came back and said we could transact and we could create $1 million, $1 million of Circle a week. And if we wanted to redeem, we could redeem $500,000 a week. Now, for one of the largest trading firms in the world, you know what that is? That's a joke. That's a trainee for an hour. So the answer was, we tried and we can't redeem. So I don't know who can, but I would ask you to go check who can redeem with Circle and USDC. So Tether currently has $114 billion in reserves and another $11 billion of their own equity. That's $125 billion in assets, and they make sure they will take care of redeeming and backing one-to-one their reserves. They're the only one. They're U.S. Treasury backed. They have over 80,000 Bitcoin, so they are Bitcoin backed. They have 1,600,000 ounces of gold, so they are gold backed. There is one certain one-to-one backed digital dollar, and the name of that is USDT, and the name of that is Tether.
To be clear, he's saying that Cantor Fitzgerald can mint $1 million worth of USDC per week and redeem 500,000. He's not saying that overall Circle can only do 500,000 a week. He's saying specifically just their firm can redeem 500,000 per week, which is still kind of shocking if you ask me, and I doubt he's coming on stage and just lying about Circle. There has to be some validity for him to say it, because why would you want to be liable for something like this?
So you know my story now. You know my brother was killed. You know my brother was killed by jihad. And so was my best friend, 658 people I cared about. So Cantor Fitzgerald knows jihad. So can you imagine a competitor of Tether saying that Tether is associated with jihad? Let me make it crystal clear. We would never, ever be associated with a company that has anything to do with jihad. And it disgusts me. It disgusts me. Someone parked a truck in front of my office saying Tether is associated with Hamas. What a bunch of crap. Seriously, outrageous and knowingly false. Knowingly false. Amazing. They said that Tether is owned by Chinese people. It's not true. It's owned by Giancarlo. He's Italian. Okay? There's a difference. So I want to be unequivocal, okay? Tether does what it says it does. It has one-to-one. It's onboarded with 150 law enforcement agencies around the world. Why do I know that? Because when we formed our relationship with them, we helped them onboard those institutions. We helped them do it. As you all know, every transaction on the blockchain is traceable, and Tether will seize any amount of coin that is involved in illicit activity. They will be caught. So whoever said things about Tether, they're knowingly false, they know it's wrong, and it needs to go away. All right, so why do I care about all this stuff, right? I run Cantor Fitzgerald. Why do I care? Because I care about America and dollar hegemony, the dollar being everywhere in the world. So you've got $100+ billion held in Argentina, Venezuela, and Turkey. If we go to a taxi right now in Argentina and try to pay, they'll take Tether. If you go to Turkey and go to a grocer, they'll take Tether, because they don't want the local fiat currency, because we all know it devalues massively. So I care about the 300 million wallets that hold Tether, because those 300 million wallets are financing the US Treasury's debt, right? They're buying, every time someone buys Tether, Tether buys a Treasury bill, and we're financing the US Treasury's debt. So emerging market distribution of USDT is fundamental for backing our debt in our country, which helps us live in this beautiful way.
And there it is. It's direct to the emerging markets start to use a currency that's directly priced in our debt. Instead of shipping dollars overseas, what's happening is we're letting the rest of the world use Tether, and Tether is the de facto Fed coin. That we like to think it was USDC, but all along it was Tether. They're working with the government agencies, and you just heard, I already said that it's expanded to government agencies around the world. They're willing to freeze dollars on command of any of these government agencies. If the Fed released a Fed coin and freezed a wallet, you would never hear the end of it. But since it's Tether, since it's in the crypto world, nobody blinks on it, nobody cares, right? So not only are they freezing wallets, they're getting the emerging markets to use our debt as a currency, and we're enslaving the world with our debt. We're getting utility out of our debt on top of it.
So let me talk Bitcoin for a little bit. I want to be clear. I am a fan of Bitcoin. Of course, do I own Bitcoin? Of course I do. Cantor Fitzgerald and all of its partners are a fan of Bitcoin. Does Cantor Fitzgerald own Bitcoin? A shed load of Bitcoin. My view is Bitcoin, like gold, should be free to trade everywhere in the world. And as the largest wholesaler in the world, we are going to do everything in our power to make it so. Bitcoin is the same as gold, and Bitcoin should trade the same as gold everywhere in the world without exception and without limitation. So Cantor is a rock star in the digital space, right? We support miners, we support power companies, we support data centers. We're here to support you if you're in the business of digital assets and crypto. We are here to support you. People, when I just walked in here, there were people coming up to me saying, thanks for the research, smartest research, best research. We're going to do all sorts of things that take care of you. So we are an investment bank that works hard for digital assets. We've raised billions of dollars, billions, for crypto and digital companies. I'll give you an example. Raised $100 million for BitGear, $200 million for TerraWolf, Riot, Cypher. You know, we have a huge list. So if you want to do business in this space, you'll call us and you'll talk to us and we'll take care of you. We host an amazing crypto conference in Miami in November. Not like this, though. This is like rock star, man. This is like the best. Okay. So why do I say all this in front of you? Because today I have an announcement to make. Cantor Fitzgerald is here to announce that we are launching a Bitcoin financing business. We will offer leverage to those who own Bitcoin. We are going to launch with $2 billion of lending. And once we put out the $2 billion of lending, we will go up in increments of $2 billion. You have to realize Cantor and BGC, its largest wholesaler, we finance and arrange vast amounts. And we are going to now build that ecosystem for Bitcoin. So the moral of the story is we are going to welcome Bitcoin into the financing family of the global financial markets, and Cantor Fitzgerald is going to be your sponsor.
A winner is a dreamer who never gives up. Thanks everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. If you enjoy content like this, please consider joining my Patreon or my ghost site, dmjr.ghost.io. Thanks guys.